There we go.
Okay. Now, if you want to go to a slideshow instead of that,
Yeah,
pick your slideshow.
I think I've got it from here.
Okay. All right. I am.
All right. Well, we'll get started here. Welcome, and thank you for being part of this. This PowerPoint was given to me by Alan Winkelstein from District 405 a few years ago. I keep updating it and tweaking it a little bit every year, but he did an amazing job. And, you know, when I was teaching, they used to tell me that, you know, copying somebody else's idea is not a bad thing. So he gave me permission to use it, and I've really enjoyed using it. So here we go. He kind of started off, I thought these are kind of some cute things. The brain, human brain starts working the moment you are born and never stops until you stand up to speak in public. I think that is so true because, you know, you get up there and all of a sudden you can't even remember who you are. I can remember that very well. My first, even standing up in the Lions Club and saying my name, I often forgot what it was. But and then in public, I like this one too. Public speaking is the art of diluting a two-minute idea into a 2-hour vocabulary. I think some of our student speaker participants feel that way too. And then the last one is, it usually takes more than 3 weeks to prepare a good impromptu speech. There is no such thing as an impromptu speech. That's why I don't think I could ever be a part of Toastmasters. And then Alan's quote I thought was cute. I left it on here because his PowerPoint is the same way. That's why I was so appreciative when he allowed me to have this, so I didn't have to present it. All right, this year's contest has been an experience. I mean, it's just amazing the anxiety that has gone on with the students, excuse me, and myself over trying to end the Lions Clubs of California to find a way to keep going on the contest this year in a safe manner. And so thank the goodness for technology. It can be an albatross around your neck, but for now, it's really a solution to a lot of things that we do as Lions. But the kids have been much more receptive to it than I am because this is their era, this is their time of living. But they did, they had to present their written speech, which was already graded, and they picked 4 winners from those 12 zones. And now those 4 are doing YouTube videos. And when I asked them, the 4, do you have any problems with it? Oh, no, done it before. I'm thinking, yes, anyway. This year's Homeless in California, the kids have come up with some amazing stuff. So if you get a chance to watch some of these videos, I hope you do, because I think if we let the kids run California, it would be over with. But when you start off with anything, I think the main thing is to know enough about what you're doing. And if you don't know, ask questions. So when you start a student speaker contest, it's relatively a very simple process, but it does take a little bit of preparing. First part is to select a chair. Now, I would not make this chair a brand new Lion. I would hope that the chair would be someone who's seen a contest before. But if there's no other option other than that, then you need to make sure that that person, that chair, connects up with someone who has some experience, because it can be in anything you do that's new, or it is for me. Until I know what I'm doing, I'm not real good at it. So I think that's true. An MD4 office, this is a California contest. It's done in other states, but not the way that we do it. Cascara at themd4.org, excuse me, is a wealth of information on anything and everything you want to ask her, but all of the material is done and comes from her. But if you're going to have a contest, you need to get in touch with her before the 1st of October. And they will be sent out to you, to the different clubs and to the zone and to the region. When you prepare for anything, you need to be preparing is important. So I always tell everyone, read the handbook. Do not assume you can do it without reading the handbook, cover to cover. And it says, I love this little icon. But then once you've read it from cover to cover, read it again. going to find stuff that you didn't know before or saw before. And then once you've done that, you're going to read it again. And then finally, one more time. And what I do when I read it, I highlight and I put pins in or I put tabs in places that I want to go back and look at. And it's always really interesting too. A lot of people don't do it. If you go to the very back of the book, they have comments from previous winners that are really heartwarming. And sometimes it's nice to share that when you do your contest. Where do the students come from? Well, they come from a lot of places, but mainly they include, and it's open, and I get this a lot, from 9 to 12, as long as they haven't graduated from high school, and it can be foreign exchange students. The problem that we had with foreign exchange students in the central area here a few years ago was that most of them go home before the final. They go back to their country in the end of May. But we did have some that did participate. And if they're here long enough to go through and they win, it can help pay for their education as long as that institution that they're attending is approved by the 4A2 Foundation. I mean, the Student Speaker Foundation. But we have a lot of, now not only the high schools, but we have charter and privates and home and independent. Those are all avenues for getting students. They're not just, you don't have to just rely on a high school. Here in Visalia, we have more than one high school. A lot of places don't. So sometimes finding enough students can be an issue, but just open your eyes to the other avenues of where you can find kids. And then, of course, you can begin with your LEOs, your principals at school. We actually got on their agenda one year and went in and talked to the PTA before school started. It used to be that there was a speech teacher in every high school. Now, sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes it may have to be an English teacher, a coach. We have a mock trial coach down in the southern region that gets involved. But you need to talk to those people, and sometimes getting in and talking to those people can be a challenge, but I would suggest that you continue to try. And then this is important. So I get a lot of questions about this. Once you've contacted that school, you can give them a handbook, but don't give them to the students at this point. And then they can also go online. The kids are much more comfortable with going online than reading the book anyway, I think sometimes. And make sure that you exchange phone numbers and addresses and all that. And I am really a believer in all of those avenues of contact. I don't believe in just trying to email or trying to phone, because we've had issues in the past where the student knows all about it, but the parents don't. So I usually phone, email, and write a letter, letting them know exactly what's going on. All right. Judges are very important. This year, the judges have been more challenged to do different things because it's such a different venue. Hopefully next year it's not going to be like this, but judges, just remember that it can't be a lion, a lioness, a Leo, a spouse, a partner, or a family of any member, which I think is really pushing it. But this year they actually let me have one lion on my judging panel, which was nice. As long as that one judge that's a lion is not judging a student from their own club. So it was a criteria. But there's some places to look for, like I said, Toastmasters before, teachers, college professors, judges. I'm blessed to live next door to an administrator / personnel director person. So he comes in and hosts me a lot. So it's always nice to have people like that in your book. And I keep the addresses and I contact them. A lot of them like to do it every year. And then if you can find someone like this, when this was done before, it was on something about, what was it? Borders or something like that. And so they were talking about, one of the places, if it was on that one, that you would find someone that was maybe a border control or had something, was familiar with that. But overall, you can get a lot of different people, and most of them are very open to that. But just make sure that they have had some experience in doing some sort of, speaking themselves or have done something like this before. It does help. And then these are the dates for this year. It'll change next year. Sometimes it varies a couple days, but we do have certain levels: the club, the zone, the region, the district, then the area, and then the final. In a normal year, this contest would have already been over with in June, and we are just now at the district level right here. So it's a slower process this year, but you have to go, and if you're a club, you got to do it before that date or on that date. So that changes every year. And it's really important to keep in contact with. I know this year I've been having to call and text and write and do everything imaginable just to make sure that the students were still going to participate and that they were on target with the contest. So make sure that they know exactly what's expected of them. Make sure that they know the exact date. That's why I like to put that in written form. The time, the location, and then having them get there early. And I think this is the one that was probably the hardest for the kids, is because, you know, they expected to be able to be out in front and have their family out there looking at them. But make sure that they understand the rules and the reasons for, and they can't wear a watch. We all know that. But this year it's going to be interesting because the YouTube video that they're presenting already has a time on it. So a lot of that stuff has been thrown out the window this year. But in preparing for the judges, you contact them. And then I always call and confirm that they're still on board. I send them a copy of all the information that they need along with the worksheet. And then just have them come early so that I can answer any questions. And then during and then ask them to bring a short bio. Sometimes some clubs, which I think is also a good idea, just ask them to get up and tell the audience who they are and what they do. But you can do it either way. But during the contest, this is really important, to keep the judges away from and separated from the students and their parents. You don't want the judges to feel like that the parents are hovering over them looking for the scores. And be very prepared. I always I try to have a clipboard with a pen, and if I have enough calculators, most people use their phone calculators now, but having a clipboard makes it easier for them to write on, and they can hold it in different positions. And so it's a good idea. And make sure they sign it. And you'll give each judge a number so that when you're scoring it later, that you'll know Judge 1, these the scores, Judge 2, that sort of thing. And as soon as they're done, you don't want to rush them, but as soon as they're done and you've collected all that stuff, then you can start introducing people and them. This is all the stuff that you need to, you know, handbook, all that kind of stuff, the worksheets, the teller sheets. Tellers are the people that keep the time. I mean, the timers are the one that keep the time. The tellers are the one that go in and compile all the totals and come up with the winner. And then they always provide you with certificates. It's really nice to be able to give those out. Anyways, that's just some of the preparations. Room. The room has to be big enough for your audience, of course, and has to be able to be closed off so that it's reasonably quiet. Having it at a restaurant can present a problem sometimes. You got to let the restaurant know that when we close those doors, you can't come in and out until we reopen those doors. And some clubs do it with a meal, some do it without the meal. Some people, if they have the meal first, and then have the students second. I like to have the contest first, and then let them eat, because if they're eating first, a lot of times they won't eat because they're too nervous. So, but it's not mandated one way or the other. You have some ability to do it either way you want. You have to have a microphone, make sure it works. We get a lot of calls now for the wireless mics. I mean, the ones that, you know, that click on like a, what am I talking, what do they call those things? They're wireless, aren't they? They go, anyway. So, and the students have that option. If they don't want to use the mic, a lot of kids at certain levels, especially at the latter part, don't use the mic. and they don't go behind the podium. They're out there moving around. Sometimes removing this clock, I don't know if you guys were with us when we were in Cambria, but the clock was up on the, had to be climb up a ladder and up on a ladder, and they finally got it down though. But anything that's a clock that tells time has to be covered or removed. This hasn't changed much other than they've added the draw of the speakers. So when you start your contest, you can call it to order. You can do your pledge. Sometimes that's done by the president. Sometimes the president just has the students chair start it and end it. But at the one point when it starts, the draw is, the students come up and draw their order of speaking. That's when your contest starts. That's when the door has to be locked or mandated, or manned so that no one can enter or leave. You do your all this, and if a student comes after this draw, they can participate at the end and give their speech, but they will not be judged. This has happened a couple times, so, but it's too bad. That's why I always encourage the chair to keep their cell phone on until that point. So in case the student got lost, we had one time had a flat tire, so that, and then we would have waited if we'd have known. So I encourage that. These are just some of the things that are in the book that you are going to tell the audience. The rules must be read as printed. This is the most important part of it, because don't ad-lib it. They give you an agenda, follow that agenda, and I just go right down the agenda. I try to make sure that I'm doing exactly what they want me to do. They want that level playing field throughout the state of California. So if the contest is being held in Redding or Visalia, the kids are getting the same information in the same way. Again, this is the contest orders. They're late. There can't be. Yeah. No one may leave the room while the contestant is speaking. No water or anything except in intermissions. The students can have water up at the podium. Do not applaud. This sometimes is hard, especially if there's parents in the audience, but wait until it's all, you get one big applause. 10 minutes. And that was one of the things we had to reinforce this year, was that even though they're doing a YouTube, they still have to, they're still on those same guidelines. So I'm interested to see how that works. I'm still waiting for those. 3 minutes, and this does mean quiet. And people can talk, but they have to keep it very low. Give the judges time to think about what they're doing. It's kind of a no-brainer, but you'd be surprised sometimes. Have everybody turn off their phones. I think we should take beepers out of there. I don't think people even, there is such a thing now with the beeper. Anyway, if someone comes up to you as the chairperson before the winner is announced, like if when they left, the tellers have left the room and someone comes up, you take that into consideration, and if it's something that's going to affect the outcome, that you may go in and talk to the tellers and make sure that you come to an agreement on how you're going to handle that. And as the chair, when you are handed that winners, I always go back in and pull the chair out if I'm doing the telling, and have them sit with me and verify. You don't want to make a mistake. You want to make sure when you get the winner's the right winner. 3 timers. This is something that I've never really, as many times as I've seen this, I've never clicked with me. They're saying that you average, or is it the average right here? We always just look at the time if they did it right, if it's within 10 minutes and over 5. But anyway, timing begins when the kid opens his mouth and says the first word. This is the money that's being paid now. The club, your club has to pay the $100 to the winner and $25 for every finalist. But then after that, the only person that gets money is the winner. $150 for the zone, $250 for the region. The zone and region money comes from your district treasurer. The awards, like right now, we're in this winner. This level will be $4,500 in fellowship, and $65,000 and $10,000. This money it has 7 years. Question?
20 pounds.
What's about 22,000?
21.
I didn't give a total. I said these are just how much money they get. 45 and yeah, but it's about 21,000. Yeah. So, and as long as they don't win the final, anything above the final or below the final, they can come back every year until they are a senior. Like if they're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. We had one girl from Visalia a few years ago that won the district, won the area, didn't win the final, came back, won the district, didn't win the area. So, but she wound up with $15,000. That's still a pretty sizable amount of money to go to school on. After the contest, make sure you introduce your judges. I always want to make sure that they know how much I appreciate the fact that they've taken their time. Give them a certificate, and a certificate holder or a frame. And you know, it's not a bad thing to a little bit about Lions, and might even get them to come to your next meeting. Who knows? You might even make them not a judge and maybe a member. I don't know. And this is something that's very nice to do. Is send a thank you. Speaker numbers, they go only by numbers. These are kind of silly. I started to take them out of here, but I left them in. But they're only known by a number. They can't tell the audience during their speech where they're from, what their name is, any affiliation, or they'll be disqualified. But they're called up by number only. And this has happened more than once. You'll have 3 people or 4 people coming and one shows up. That person still has to speak and be judged. The students can have water at their podium, and then once they're done and they sit down, again, there's 3 minutes in between. And introduce the students. I always give the students a little piece of paper that has the things I want them to give their name. Please, when you stand up and introduce yourself, give me your name, your school, what grade you're in, what college you're interested in, you know, and introduce your family. And I also have them, I include, if you know what club sponsored you. I like to let the audience know that. I sometimes acknowledge the tellers. The tellers are just the people that go into the other room and do the scoring. But anyone here that's listening been a teller of a contest?
Yes.
It's important, again, not to have a brand new line do it. This should be make sure that you know what you're doing, because if there's a tie, it can get a little critical. And I still get, like I just got the zone contest stuff the other day, and there were still people that were putting scores in there instead of placing, like first, second, and third. It's what you're supposed to put in there, but they were putting in the average, actually totals like 75 and whatever. So.
It was confusing.
All right. So if this ever happens, we can go over exactly what this, but it's very well specifically spelled out in the book on how to go through that. So I'm not going to go into that in any detail. We have had to get down to the last one. We had one time that we went all the way down, and at the very end, there was 1 point between the first and the second. I mean, and that shows you the quality of some of the students that we get.
And one of the closest to 10 minutes.
So if there's like, that's why you have an odd number of judges. So if 2 people have 2 first places, and no one else has anything higher than that, then those 2, you go to the next level. And you have to do a different thing, and then to keep going until you actually get to the point where you have an actual winner. But yeah, it's we've not had that happen often. So as the chair, make sure you verify before you announce. We've had a couple of boo-boos in the past. You announce the winner only. And then present them to the award, which could be the money. And then to the finalists, which are all the other kids, you would be giving them a certificate. So now that your contest is over, your next step is to make sure that that teller's worksheet is completed. And you're going to send all that to the next person up, the thing. So for the region, it would be to the district chair, which is myself. And for me, it's going to be to the area chair, from the area chair to the final. And the congratulations, that letter has been included and not included. So, but it's important to have all the information of the winner so that you can make sure that the next person up the line has their name, address, their phone, so that they can contact them. Right now, what like the kids have gotten from me as the district chair, an email, a phone call, congratulating them on winning the region, and now that was 2 or 3 weeks ago, and now this week their YouTubes are due on a week from today. I'm going to be calling them again, but 2 weeks prior to the prior level, you need to give that letter to them so that they know where they're to be and their next level. You cannot give. We had the little girl that I told you that went all the way up and then came back and won $15,000. Her father was very upset when she didn't win. And so he asked if he could see her scores. And so I could photocopy just her scores. I can't tell him which judge or which did what. So when I gave them to him, he was even more upset because he'd been asking for me this all along, getting 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, and all of a sudden at the area, she was getting 5s and 6s. He was very upset over that, but they can have their own scores, but that's all they can have. Don't ever tell them, well, this person got that and you got this. That they want it private. That's important to remember. Now, at the club level contests, from there forward, you can give the students a handbook. But again, I think most of the kids like to go online, but it is important to have, so they can have it, so they can make sure they read through it, but only after they've won club level. This can be hard because the Southern region has a mock trial that sometimes interferes with the contest at, let's see, which one is it? I think it's the district one. So, but anyway, the conflicts will come up, but the conflict scheduling of those conflicts and resolving them is up to the student. I mean, we only do the best we can do. We have to follow our own guidelines. So it does happen. Let them know where they're going to be next. Now it's the next. Make sure that at the end of the club, you say, okay, now the winner will be at the zone, and you should know the zone contest. And I think it's important if you have a student, you have to follow your student as long as they win. These are just common sense sometimes. Never be afraid to ask. I mean, I've been doing this off and on for 15 years, I guess, and I'm more than willing to answer questions. I've answered some really pretty silly ones, but that's beside the point. There's still something that people needed to have clarification on. And again, read that handbook each time.
Now read the cover one more time.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I was chuckling at reading the book one more time.
Oh, I know, you know.
That is
My husband,
true.
yeah, my husband was funny. He had funny little comments about things like that, and I would get frustrated over something like this, and he would say, well, you know, sometimes when you give them the paper, all they do is eat it, you know, so I don't know. But but I think it is important. And I've heard people say, well, I read it last year, why should I read it? Well, something may have changed, you know, something may have because they tweak it every year. So these are the people. Alan is, again, the man that I got this from. Cass, if you ever need a question, you have a question, Cass is an amazing woman. I don't know how she puts up with 20,000 lions in California, and it's nice to them all, but she is. And then you can get the certificate holders and all that stuff from Club International. So that is the end of this. So do you have any, and I'm open for questions. Anybody have questions or comments, or did I get you so rattled you don't know what you're doing now?
Great, yes.
No, I read it 4 times last year. We're good.
I'm sorry?
I said I read the book 4 times last year and I still got confused.
Yeah, how many of you have actually done a contest? Everyone here?
Yeah.
Did you feel intimidated by it the first time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, most of us want to do well, no matter what we're doing, you know, whether, and being in front of people is one level of it, but then making sure that you know what you're talking about. And if you don't know, don't ad lib, you know, well, I don't know that question, I answered that question, but I'll find out for you. I think it's important in anything you do. Anybody else?
Do
Hello,
you have
Paul.
a topic for the next contest?
Do I have a what?
The topic
Topic.
for next year's contest?
That they by this time would have had the first Council of Governors meeting and done that. But they haven't yet. No, they're having their first. Let's see, they had a virtual one with just the governors, and I believe they're having one in September. And in September the student speaker contest committee gets together and it takes all the topics that have been presented to them and tries to condenses them down to 5 to give to the governors, and then the governors pick the one. But if you have an idea for please let me know, because anyone can give an idea. We had the last time I sat in on one of that, we had 85 or 100, and we had to pick your top 10 and get rid of the rest of them. Pick the best of, it's quite a process. And even then, when you give it to the governors, sometimes the one you think is one they pick, it's not the one they pick, or they change it around and make it wording different. But if you look in the book, back in the back of the book, it lists all of the topics over all of the years that it's been. And it's interesting when you look at the topic and you think, what was the world like at that point? They kind of always just kind of come together. Like homeless is this big thing in California. So the water, the one year, the border. I mean, we've had a lot of, they kind of try to keep it very current. Anything else?
Probably one of the most difficult things we have is getting our contestants, as we only have one high school. And
Yeah, but do you have charter schools and homeschooling and?
probably not so much at the high school level. We don't have any charter schools.
Okay.
And so we have and our high school only has 400 kids. And it's just, and of course they don't teach speech anymore. Last year I contacted the teacher that did the leadership. She had the president, the student body officers, and they were interested at first, but they fizzled, So that's one of our most difficult things, is getting contestants.
I think that's pretty well across the board. I know when we first started it in California, and I got involved, we had speech teachers and they were all on board, and then they had the audacity to retire. And so the incoming people, they like the idea, but they have a hard time. I mean, my whole family's in teaching, and I know the kind of stress that they have and how much they're expected to cover. It's hard to add one more thing on top of it all. But I think the main thing is to encourage the kids that even at the beginning, they can read the speech, but doing the research sometimes is an issue. And usually getting we finding, and where I found that you're getting the really high-end kids that are involved in 50,000 other things,
Yeah.
and they're trying to add this to their plate. Yeah.
One of the things we did one year, I think it was about 2-3 years ago now. My club, we couldn't, the high school that we got assigned to within Visalia didn't come up with any candidates for it. But that year was the year Tulare Host, I think, ended up with 12 kids that applied for it. And so what we did is we came together as a zone, and we took on the extra kids from Tulare into Visalia so that everybody had an opportunity. And so we spread those kids from the other zone into ours so that all the kids had an opportunity. So you may want to reach out to your zone chair and region chair and see if you can do a sharing program across the zone or across the region, so that if somebody has excess kids, nobody's getting turned away.
Right.
Yeah, we had that issue last year as well. We had, I guess it was Tulare again. They had a plethora of students, and they couldn't place them into a contest. And then, as it turns out, we have students not show up. So it's suggested no more than, or we have a minimum amount of contestant people, but if you can put an extra one in there and keep it within your time, you know, that some of these kids, this may be the only opportunity they have to compete in something like this. So making sure that they have that option is pretty important.
Now, the foundation recommends you not have more than 6. But, and they would like to keep it at that, because I think because of the time, each one of them has 10 minutes, and that's an hour right there. But then you have the breaks and you have all the other things that go on. But yeah, I think the hardest thing is just getting into the public school. I mean, in Visalia, we have 4 high schools, and we have the charter schools, and so we assigned a club to go in and make all the contact. But then once the contacts are from one school all the schools are collected, we come back together as a zone, and we spread those out so everyone has an even amount. But then, like Bobby Joe said, you'll have 5 maybe, or 4 on your calendar, and when you come to the club, you may have 1 or 2. But you still celebrate the fact you've got 1 or 2, you know. Yeah. How about you, Tony? Get anything to comment? You're being quiet, which is unlike you.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm just taking it all in. Our Leo advisor retired just recently, and he's reevaluating his retirement. So he's actually no longer a Lion right now. He was the one that was actually taking care of all of our student speaker contests for the last 3 years. So everything that everybody's been talking about, I'm taking in and going, okay, how did he take care of this? What did he do? He was the teacher there at Clovis High School, so he had that connection right off the bat. And with that, I'm also listening to what you're all doing there in Visalia with the 4 or 5 high schools. Well, Clovis has 4 or 5 high schools as well, but only one high school right now is actually doing the student speaker contest. My question is, how did you guys go and make all those contacts to all the high schools within the school district and bring in the other Lions clubs within the zone to help out and provide the audience for these students to actually gain the knowledge, for one, and gain scholarship funds?
Well, I think that, and I find that's true, and I've told more than one person, that the central region is quite unique in the respect that the Visalia clubs all work together. We partner up with a lot of different things. My club is a small club, and we partnered up with Pride Club to do painting of a fence at the Literary Center. We partner up with Sequoia to do things with, but any relationship takes a lot of effort to start. But I would suggest that is a good place to start, combining the zone, getting all the clubs of the zone to work together towards whatever the event is, would be a good start. And then getting into the high schools, you just, like I said, assign a high school to one of the people on that's doing the contest, and they just keep working at it. And we have a series of letters and contacts and stuff that we can share that we've developed over the years, but it's still difficult because once you get there, it just depends on how enthusiastic the person that you've contacted is about the contest sometimes. And sometimes it is because the kids that they may be really interested, but that it conflicts with this or it conflicts with that. And it's not an easy process, but it is worth the effort, I believe.
Yeah, Tony, I would recommend a couple things. One, I mean, the zone has to put on a zone student speaker contest. Okay, so really, we really want that zone chair to be the project lead for that zone student speaker contest. Okay, and let them pull those committee members together from each club that's willing to participate in student speaker and run from there. The second thing is we initiate contact by hitting up either the principal or the vice principal of each school. Here in Visalia, when I was the zone chair, I actually sent it to the Visalia Unified School District. I got a project officer assigned from Dr. Odo at the time to help do that connectivity with the high schools. And so we tried to bridge things that way. And so those are a couple ways to do it, but that school district is the one that's going to tell you how many high schools you have, who the points of contact are, and if you have any charter schools that are at the high school level that you can reach out to. And then it's about getting your zone chair to pull it together and make it a zone project event. And then you really get some synergy behind it and coordination behind it so that you can trade people between clubs. If somebody gets overwhelmed, you can spread those kids out. At the zone level, you can partner with another zone to find out if there's something that they need or if they're overwhelmed, or maybe they don't have anybody at all and you've got excess students that you can move over there. I mean, you guys are all close enough that it's nothing for Clovis to go to Fresno and vice versa. Just like here, it's nothing for Tulare to come to Visalia. It gets a little more difficult with Porterville and Springville, but with Tulare, we're right here. And so we can share back and forth really easy.
Yeah, and it's sanctioned that you can do that, but you have to make sure that you're servicing your students first before you accept someone out. You don't want to bump someone out of Visalia from Tulare, because Tulare only has one Lions Club, and but they have 3 high schools, and so sometimes they really do promote it a lot better. So.
Yeah.
But so I see Virginia's here. Virginia, do you have any comments from your area? I can't hear you.
You're muted.
Turn your.
Okay. Well, we have problems. We have problems getting Layton to have any students at all. So last year we ended up, Riverdale had an excess and Hanford Breakfast had an excess. So they gave us their extra so that we actually were able to have a contest, which was really good.
Yeah, work together. You're working together towards the common good for the kids. That's great. How about you, Paul?
Lydia's been doing it for the last quite a few years, but we've been lucky that one high school, but we get at least anywhere from 3 to 5 participants every year. And then in the zone level, Selma, Parlier, and sometimes Fowler will produce a speaker. So you'll have at least 3 there. And I know Selma has a few clubs, but I think just that one high school, and that one little girl that participates, she's done very well the last few years.
One thing that came about in your area one time, a few years ago, Lydia was sharing with me, that make sure that your judges you're not using the same judges.
And
make sure that they're not from the competing high school.
Yeah, I remember that.
That can be a problem.
An awkward time.
Yeah.
Might open them some.
And so this is my first time I've been asked to be a zone chair, so that's why I joined late. I'm sorry, but okay. I want to try and learn as much as I can, and I know I have good resources to turn to, though, with Lydia and other people over there.
if you read the handbook, the handbook it's really very simple to do. Just follow the rules and do what the handbook tells you to do. The hardest part is the contacting, like you guys are saying, is getting out there and getting your students. But the presenting and putting on the contest is relatively an easy process, but it does require you knowing what you're doing. And I've been, I sometimes shy away from going to the club level because if there's something going differently, I'm on my hands and I'm biting my tongue and I'm trying not to fidget because it's driving me crazy because they're not doing it the right way. And to me, there is a very right way to do it. It's by the book. Basically, that's one of the things by the book.
We'll look at that.
How about you, Angie? Anything you want to comment about?
Just wanted to add that we have one high school and we have one continuation school that we reach out to, but the source that I use to reach out and get the information out to the students is the counselors. I go ahead and go to the counselor so they can go ahead and put it on their bulletin and put it out to the students. I also give them a flyer with my contact information, so anytime that the students feel that they want to compete, they just reach out to me personally. And when I gather enough students, I set a date at the high school where I can meet with them and pretty much give them a little rundown of what the contest is about. And if they still want to participate, then I get their information and I make contacts from there. And if they have any questions, they can feel free to call me at any time. So that's the way I've been able to get my contestants.
Well, also remember too that you don't have to have the material in your hand. That contest topic is going to be on the webpage, the MD4 webpage, a month or more before you're going to get your information. And if you have a contact that you've worked with over and over, send them an email, say, we're excited this year, this is our new topic, more information will follow, so that they actually are aware of what's going to be happening in the future, but so that they can start to think about it, because sometimes like this last year, there was a glitch because when the stuff came from the printer, it was wrong. They had to send it back. So it was late getting out. And so that can happen. I mean, mistakes do happen. So it doesn't happen. That's the first time I've ever known it to happen, but they can have the title. You can start promoting from just the topic. That's what I was trying to say. Does that make sense?
And that's what I do when I go with the counselors. I put the topic on my flyer, and I think that helps attract students because sometimes it's a topic that they feel is they're comfortable with speaking about. Right. So I think that draws that in as well, putting the topic on the flyer.
I think some topics are hotter with the kids than others, but this homelessness one has been a good one. I've read the written part. I'm looking forward to the videos. Amanda, do you have anything you want to add?
I can remember last year there weren't very many clubs participating in the speaker contest from our zone 1, Northern. But I'm looking forward to maybe getting participation from the Fresno campus, which was newly chartered, and hopefully we can accomplish that.
Yeah, and I think, you need to also be a very, keep advertising or letting people know that we do need to start, which we haven't done in a long time. We give out $4,500 to one of our kids. That's a lot of money. And we need to, as clubs, if we're giving a contest, we need to maybe do a Harry Aslan or some sort of award to give back into the kiddies, but that money doesn't eventually run out. The foundation does need that support. So even if it's a patch for your banner for $100, something that you buy into helping to reimburse the foundation so that 5 or 6 years from now, or 10 years from now, or 20 years from now, that we're still able to do this. So.
You can also designate the Lions Student Speaker Foundation for MD4 as the charitable donation if you participate using Amazon Smile.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
As well, we are, Lion Yolanda will be collecting and still collecting used ink cartridges and cell phones that are being sent to MD4 Speaker, the foundation. Those are turned around, they're recycled, and the money goes to the foundation for the scholarships. But more importantly, each club that turns them in, or excuse me, by the district, that money is, I'm not sure if it's allotted, but it is added up and credited to the district.
Oh, Tony, you had your hands up?
Yeah, Lion Bobby, have Yoli give me a call. I got a ton of that stuff sitting in my house. I need to get rid of it.
Very good. Yes, we've already sent off, I think, 3 boxes of ink cartridges, I think 2 boxes of cell phones. And we're getting ready to make another shipment again.
Cool. That's a good idea. Thank you for sharing that. I've forgotten that. Oh, yes, Virginia.
How old of cell phones do you collect? I've got ancient ones.
That's fine. We have a couple of flip phones in the box.
That's pretty ancient.
Yeah, and we do collect the cartridges, but there are some limitations to them. Epson is not taken, or the big office type. We are looking into another way of, if we do collect those, converting those over to cash to be sent in.
Thank you for that. Well, thank you guys. It's been interesting. I've loved the talking part better than giving the presentation. So keep going, and my phone. You have my phone, and anytime you have a question, just give me a call. Yes, Virginia.
I missed because I came in a little bit later. What's the status of our student speakers for this year? Because I know it all got put on hold.
Okay, well, they started putting it on hold and postponing it, and then finally they came up with social distancing, and then then they changed it again. So basically what it wound up being was that all of the zone winners were contacted and making sure they wanted to keep participating, and they were asked to submit their written speech, and then they were judged. Those written speeches were judged, and then from each region, so the northern, southern, all picked a winner from their zones. This region chairs did that, and then those 4 were sent to me, and then I contacted them, and they're doing a YouTube video of themselves giving the speech, and then that will be judged by another panel of judges, and the winner will be done. So it's all done, but like this.
Okay.
And it's the only way I think the governors really thought outside the box and came up with this. I think it was a good idea, and I think that it's a safe way to do it. And the kids were still interested, which is good. So I'm kind of interested to see the speeches. I did have a couple of kids text me later after we had announced the thing. I wish I could have given my speech. I think they felt that they could have presented it a lot better than they could have written it, because
And vice versa too. Some
right.
had a wonderful speech, but they're terrible at speaking it.
And what will happen next is the winner, they have until a week from today at 5 o'clock to get the video to me. And then I have my panel of 5 judges waiting. They will view them and score them. And then I have to then turn and give that one video to the area. That same video follows them. And then once the area is done, I'm assuming that same video will go to the final. And they're hoping the area to have that at the middle of next month. And the final would be, I think it's going to be in September at that meeting, I think, that they're having, where the student speaker topic will be done again, or be chosen. So it's been it's been really different and very stressful because it's so new. But the kids are just, I mean, they're fine with it. But I'm not, but it's a learning curve. But I think it was a good way to do it, the virtual part. So I think that was very much a good call for the governors to do that. Anything else? Well, thank you. And you have a great rest of your day.
Before you kick everybody off, okay, there is a course evaluation. Please go back to the form where you click to join this meeting and complete the course evaluation, because that does 2 things. One, it tells me who attended the class, so I know who I need to do certificates for. And number 2, and most importantly, it enters you into a really cool raffle that's going to happen at about 3 o'clock. So make sure you come back for the closing ceremonies at 3 o'clock so we could see who wins the raffle prizes.
Awesome.
Great.
All right, you guys take care, and I'll talk to you later.
Have a great lunch, all.
You too. Thank you.
See you all. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.